very often people try to sound like other DJs or emulate other DJs, like not just from the tracks that they play, but even like the movements, the way they dance on the decks, you know, like there's no need for that, you know. There will only be one Shimza. I don't know, you know, there will only be one Shimza. So why should you try to sound like Shimza, you know? Why should you try to sound like the couple? Why should you try to sound like Kabza the Small? Just be yourself, embrace your individuality, and take risks. Offer something that's different to the market, you know? If people are not booking you, make your own event. We need more events. There's far too much talent, especially in South Africa, and not enough gigs.
Desiree is a South African-born DJ and producer fusing Afro-rooted rhythms with sharp techno precision. A politics and economics graduate from Wits University, she's built her own path from Johannesburg's underground to international stages, gracing the covers of DJ Mag and Numéro. Her sound commands dance floors from Berlin to New York City, while her MMiNO platform is a space where sound, community, and culture converge on a global scale. There's like a few episodes that like I get like super excited for, and this is definitely one of them. No, for real. Tell me, have you learned some Armenian? Can you say some words?
Barev.
Barev. Oh wow. Okay.
Drops mic.
My mom watches the show. I promise you, if she sees that, she's gonna go crazy. What brings you to Cape Town?
I have 2 shows here.
Yes.
And just vibes. Just December.
One of them your own?
Both of them technically my own,
yes.
But the one that's really my own is one on the 8th.
Yes.
And then I had one at Cabo on the 26th.
Tell me about the one on the 8th. That's the...
Mino.
Mino.
Exactly.
Double M.
Double M.
Tell me about
Mino.
Mino.
Yeah, it's more of an underground vibe.
Mm-hmm.
We have a DJ from Brazil coming. So
Amazing. We
have this whole like Pan-African, African diaspora sounds kind of vibe. And yeah, it's underground, bit more queer, bit more, you know, darker, not like that beach vibe that you find everywhere in Cape Town. I
love it. I'm always asking people like, what do they feel is missing in the space, you know, before they start putting an event together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something you're really known for, is the way you always curate your set. So it's like super interesting to me that you'd be putting an event together, and it's like just the direction you would take. And like musically, how would you? Like
I said, it's electronic music from the African diaspora. So when I say African diaspora, I don't just mean the African continent, but also other Black people from Brazil or from America or from the UK, you know, bringing all those different sounds that are inspired by our African roots, but have electronic undertones.
I love it. I love it. Tell me, if you are now, let's say, at some sort of a dinner party and someone doesn't recognize you and they ask you like what you do for a living, as someone who wears many different hats, how do you best answer that question?
I'm a professional curator of vibes.
Ooh, okay. I love it.
Professional curator of vibes, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my job description.
I love that. That's so you. Now, if I turn on Apple TV one day, or I turn on Netflix and that logo goes tick, and then I'm watching the documentary of your life. And then the credits open up. And then that scene opens. What would you see as like the introduction to your story?
The introduction to my story, I think it would open up with me in the township where I grew up in Ivory Park in Johannesburg. And with me blasting rock music in my grandmother's living room.
Rock,
exactly. Rock. I know, rock. Yeah. And, you know, for like a 10-year-old girl in the township in South Africa to be playing that kind of music, it was like, what are you doing? You know, like I remember so many moments where my grandmother was just so confused, like how did we even raise this child? You know, where is she getting this music from? You know, and I think really for me, that was the beginning of my curiosity and like just being very inquisitive in terms of like searching for sounds that I was not necessarily exposed to in my surroundings. So I've been doing that from a very, very young age. It wasn't necessarily with electronic music at the beginning.
Yes.
It was alternative rock. I love like Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds and all these bands that nobody in my surroundings even knew, you know.
How did you come across it? Like, where did you find it?
You know, I still ask myself that question till this day, but definitely, like, I don't know, I picked it up from TV, from movies, from fashion shows. Yeah.
Amazing.
And my ear just loved it.
And when does I want to say dance music or house, when does that sort of path like come across your life?
Yeah. I mean, like growing up in South Africa, I mean, like house music has just always been around, you know, like I remember so many moments vividly as a child where my uncle or my dad were like buying meat on a Sunday with their friends and they were blasting like some house tunes, like classic house tunes that we all love as South Africans, you know. So it's always been kind of in my surroundings, but I would really say that the moment where I started to interact with genres like techno or electronica was through watching fashion shows as a kid.
Wow.
As a kid, watching like a Chanel runway show, or, you know, I began to discover these amazing producers like Dewey Barato, like an amazing producer from Brazil, for example, that I wouldn't have necessarily heard if I went to like a party in South Africa, you know.
Incredible. So you loved FTV. You were always watching.
FTV was my thing. I'm so sad that it's not. Is it still on?
No, I doubt it. Yeah,
that was my thing. Yeah. Like every day after school, I was like watching the fashion shows. I knew all the songs. And I think that's when Shazam was starting to become a thing. And I was like Shazamming all the songs and collecting all this music that still inspires me till this day.
Incredible. And then when does the first sort of thought of potentially playing music, sort of when does that idea get into your mind and when does that?
You know, I remember one morning in high school, I went to my friends, my friend group, and I was like, guys, I have to play these songs for you. Like, I discovered these songs on a fashion show. I'm completely obsessed with them. I know it's not necessarily your vibe, but hear me out, you know? And I think in that moment, I kind of saw myself as a curator of vibes, as a DJ, even though I didn't know what a DJ was, but I kind of developed this passion of digging for music and compiling it and introducing it to people. And I would always try to find the songs that maybe were not so alternative, you know, maybe the songs that were more like linked to sounds that the people were already used to, you know, just kind of like as a gateway into the genre, you know, and then slowly reel them in. So I got a lot of my friends into Nick Cave and all these people, even my grandma.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you study after school?
I did. I studied a BCom in politics, philosophy, and economics.
Incredible. And then when does the first DJ gig happen?
The first DJ gig.
Is it varsity times or is it?
It was definitely varsity time. My very, 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 very first one, or like an official one.
Give me both. Give me the very, very first one that's like at a house party or something, and then the one that's
the first one was definitely at a house party with some friends. I had started to play around with like mixing on virtual DJ on my like super slow laptop that would always crash whenever I would load my virtual DJ. And then we were at a party with some friends. It was like at a house in Joburg. And they had like a little controller. It wasn't even like an actual controller. It was kind of like a tractor, like a mixer,
I remember
just
those.
that like little thing, and
the
then
fade in, the fade out,
connected to a laptop, and it was kind of just like open decks kind of situation. And I was like, I remember I was with a friend at that time. I was like, should I try? And he was like, yeah, go ahead, do it. And I played, and I think I ended up playing for like 3 hours and created this like dance floor. All of a sudden, people were on the dance floor and just enjoying my selection. So I would say that was my first time playing for other people. And then my first official gig where I felt like, okay, now I'm a real DJ, was at a party called Surreal Electronica in Braam.
Okay.
It was organized by Jackie Queens and Katja Joswiz. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
Yes.
And it was at Kitchener's, and it was a house music party. And I knew Swizz because I was always at parties. I was always out and about. I had a community, and he kind of like recommended me to Jackie, like was like, hey, we should book this girl. She's dope, and then she was like, okay, let's see. And then they put me at opening slot, when no one was there. I think it was like 7 p.m. or something, which for Kitcheners is super early. And I played a set, and I think that was my first proper set. Yeah.
That's incredible. What an amazing story. And tell me, how was the modeling side was already, I mean, there's people who say they model, but like you were a serious player in that space.
I mean, it depends how you look at it, It was something that I was really passionate about.
Yes.
Like I really am passionate about the fashion industry, not just like from me looking pretty in front of the camera, but also just the behind the scenes, I remember as a kid, I knew all the designers, all the stylists, all the, the people who were compiling the music and the fashion shows, So I really had a passion for the industry, holistically. But I don't know, I wouldn't say I was like a big shot model. I mean, I did give it a try, but I don't know, it just never really like worked out for me in the way that I had envisioned it. I always thought I'm going to be on that Chanel fashion show.
I feel like you would have.
I think the universe is weird. The universe is weird. I did attempt to do like Paris Fashion Week and Milan Fashion Week, but they didn't book me. They don't want to book me. So
how do you know as like a creative when to pivot between the creative things that you work on?
I mean, definitely that external recognition. I know it sounds bad, but when you see that people are catching on to what you're doing, that's when you're like, okay, maybe this could be something. And that's what happened with
And in terms of you and how both things made you feel, like the satisfaction you were getting between maybe walking on a runway versus playing a set?
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. Like I'm much more fulfilled as a curator of vibes.
Really? Okay, amazing.
Absolutely.
Because I imagine a lot of people listening, like torn between two worlds, like, no, I don't know if I should do this or this. So it's great to hear the way you've maneuvered. You know what I mean? I think it gives people a lot of sense of like direction and how they made you feel,
And just don't give up and just don't box yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. Was there a moment where you can say like this happened and then my career just went crazy? You very quickly, once you started playing bigger and bigger shows, you got a lot of attention. And I remember seeing you for the first time. I remember seeing you live and like writing to you immediately. Like that was incredible. It's like, it felt like someone who really loves the music. And, like there's people out there that will just take up DJing and like you can see they're in the beginning of their career. But with you, it felt very different, felt very intentional. It felt very like, okay, no, this person is within,
Yeah. It's very difficult to pinpoint like one specific moment in my career. you know. I think when you start to get props from the people that you always look up to, you know, and they're like, no, she's dope. She's
Get
dope.
that
Your
nod.
track selection, damn girl, you know. Yeah, but it's not like one specific moment.
It's like stepping stones.
Yeah, little bit by bit. You know, it really happened very organically for me, like bit by bit. All of this was not intentional, by the way. You know, the first 3-4 years, you know, it wasn't like, okay, I want to be like a DJ and tour the world and have it be like my full-time thing, you know.
Wow.
It was just purely out of passion and love for the music. And then after a while, it's like, oh, hang on a second, like people actually kind of like what I'm doing, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my next question.
Seems like you're not sure about this question.
No, I love this question because, you know, your team also put some questions forward, and I love this question so much because I feel like I'm going to steal it and I'm going to use it on different guests in the future as well. But what changes when success arrives faster than you have expected?
You know, when success arrives faster than you've expected, that's when the passion starts to become a business, let's say, which kind of maybe takes away from, not the fun, but it takes away from, you know, that innocence that you had initially when you started doing what you're doing.
There's a seriousness that
exactly.
comes
It starts
to
to
the
be
fun.
There's stakes are high. There's, you know, there's different metrics. There's, you know, it essentially starts to become commercialized, you know, and what that brings is a lot of stress and anxiety, you know, and you also start to like question yourself and doubt yourself, like, oh, like, you know, do I even deserve to be on this lineup? Like, oh, like, why me, you know, at least in my case, you know. So yeah, that's been a bit challenging, you know, when you start something without the intention of it becoming this big thing, and then it turns into this big thing, and then you're like, oh my gosh.
I love that you say that. It's so true.
That's really what happened for me. And yeah, it's, you know, it's been a bit challenging navigating that. Also with some of the mental health challenges that comes with this job, you know, like being away from family, from friends, and missing big moments in the lives of people that you love.
The traveling and the hours. People don't realize.
You know what the worst part is? The worst part is me going to my friend who has like a 9-to-5 and being like, oh, I'm so exhausted. Oh my gosh, like this is so hard. And they're like,
it's very difficult for them to understand.
You know? So it's that's also another challenge. It's like you don't really have many people on a day-to-day basis that can kind of relate to the challenges that you're going through, because people just see the glitz and glam, you jet setting around, you know, playing all these great festivals and so forth, and people screaming, and that's what they see on Instagram. So they don't see the behind the scenes. And then when you start to voice your concerns about some of the challenges that you're going through, people don't get it. They're like, oh, you make that in an hour. It's
you
know what I mean?
It's like people don't realize. I'd love for someone to do a test on how many calories a freaking DJ burns, because it's like apparently people who play chess can burn 4,000 calories in a game of chess.
In a game of chess?
Sitting down. So can you imagine a DJ who is also making very strategic decisions musically and reading the audience, and is so hyper focused on 6 moves, 6 songs down the line, you know what I mean? And people don't realize what it takes, and they're standing and they're jumping around.
Up, you know, even if you're going through like a hard time in your life, you kind of have to like fake it
put
sometimes,
everything
you know?
aside and almost get into that zone. People don't realize what that takes, and they don't realize that traveling and that those hours and just sleep and
traveling by yourself.
Crazy.
You know, traveling by yourself. Not all DJs have like an entourage, a team,
exactly.
like moving with them all the time.
Exactly.
It's expensive, you know? So yeah, that's...
I love that you touch on that. Now, how would you say your sort of definition of success has changed from when you started till now?
I think when I started, it had a lot to do with like external validation,
Yes.
you know, like especially with my peers in the industry, you know, especially as a woman, you know, it's like you kind of want like, you know, all the legendary DJs to co-sign you, to validate you, like, yeah, you're dope and so forth, you know. So that really gave me purpose at the beginning to keep going. But now I'm a bit like, you know, it's not really something that is fueling me. What fuels me at the moment is leaving a legacy and kind of paving the way for other people that maybe look like me or have a similar experience to me, or just generally like marginalized people in the world, you know, to know that it's possible, you know, and also to just build kind of platforms myself, you know, my own platforms, my own label, my own party, you know, and kind of control the narrative in my career in terms of how I put out my art. That's really important for me. You know, like for example, like at the beginning of my career, if I played a festival for like 20,000 people and I played on the main stage, that would be like, oh my gosh, I've made it, you know. But now I would much rather play for 500 people that consistently buy a ticket to come see me and are there for the entirety of my 3, 4, 5 hour set where it's just me playing without other DJs on the lineup. I would rather play for those people than play for 20,000 people that don't necessarily know who I am and are there for like a festival of a lineup of like 15 other DJs and everyone is playing like a 1 hour set each, you know. I think there's value in kind of connecting with your core audience.
That's so powerful. Thank you for that answer. Sure, that's politics degree. Yo, to fire. Yo, the way you put that's beautifully put. No, for real. Thank you for that. And I think that's going to mean a lot to a lot of people. Thank you for that. Talk to me about producing music. When does that come into play? What's the first DAW you use? Like, what do you use today? And how does that happen? Such a beautiful world. Like, when do you get exposed to that? And when does that start?
So for me, producing music started during the pandemic.
Okay.
The pandemic. I was always surrounded by other producers. Like I'm very good friends with the likes of Mash and, you know, the guys from Kususa and so forth, because I was like going out a lot and I kind of formed this community with other like-minded people who enjoy the music. And then I found that when the pandemic happened, there were no gigs. There was nowhere to play, you know? So I found myself sitting there like, okay, like, what do I do, you know?
Yes.
And I decided to give it a shot, you know? And I've been so fortunate to be surrounded by all these amazing producers, you know, that can give me tips and tricks and show me the way and, you know. So I downloaded FL Studio. I'm an FL girl still till this day. I mean, I've been trying to dabble into Ableton and so forth, but FL is still my main vehicle. And yeah, that's how it started. Pandemic. Out of boredom.
Incredible. And how big sort of part does it play in your process today? Like, is that something you're doing every day? Is it like, are you trying to in between shows? Is it a laptop you carry around? Like, what's your process?
I'm going to be honest with you. When DJs tell you that, yeah, I'm in the airport, like producing, I don't know how they're doing that. Me personally, like, I have to be well rested. I have to, I don't know, maybe be somewhere in nature to be inspired, you know? I can't be moving in between shows, making music, you know? So it's really been a challenge for me.
Yes.
Because I've been touring so much. To kind of find the time and space to fit that in has really, really been challenging. So I am not on my FL as much as I would like to be.
Yes.
But I'm working on it.
No, but I love that. And it's like carving time for that specifically, you know, instead of it being like the byproduct of in between the airport trips. I love that you say that, because it's like it does take a lot out of you as well. And it has to be this beautiful experience, and you need to pitch up for it, and you can only pitch up for it if you're in the right space. And I love that you say that. Maybe that's your process, and and I think that's what a lot of people can take from that as well. It's like, it doesn't need to be the cookie cutter that it is for everybody. Maybe like there's so many great artists I know who only work when they're in their studio. They don't work in other people's studios. You know, there's people who can't create on a laptop. They need to be in front of their desktop with the mouse and the thing and their studio. Otherwise they don't make music. You know, they go out there and experience the world, and then they get into the space and then create. So I love that you said that.
It's different for everyone. I personally cannot do it in between tours. I need to reserve time on my calendar specifically
for that
to create.
I love that. I love that. Talk to me about, like, I know in dance music especially, you know, when you start off, it's like, hey, I've got this track, I release it on this label, and then I release it on this label in France, and then this label in Germany, and then, you know, like, at what point do you know, there's this conversation around ownership. Like, what is your perspective on that today? Are you still releasing songs on different labels and where it makes sense, and collaborations and remixes? Or are you focusing on now sort of pushing through your own stable?
I mean, from the very beginning, I've always kind of had that less is more approach, firstly. My very first EP, was released on a small label called Bay Electronica, South African label. And it's just been really important for me to do things at my own pace and not be pressurized by this industry machine that, okay, you have to do this, now you have to release on this label, and then you have to, you have to collaborate with this person, and then the numbers have to be big and so forth. For me, because I feel like I kind of had that journey with DJing for production, I kind of wanted to take a bit more of a relaxed approach. Because also I don't feel like you need to be a producer to be a DJ. I feel like the two are completely different things.
Absolutely.
My favorite DJ is not necessarily my favorite producer, and 100%. My favorite producer is not necessarily my favorite DJ, you know? So I hate that the industry likes to conflate these two things. And it's been a bit of a challenge for me, because the shows, I'm playing such big shows, and then here I am taking like an independent artist kind of approach with my productions. You know, it's like, okay, these two things are not really matching. But that's how I want to do it, you know. I see a lot of my colleagues being burnt out and just being pressurized by the industry and their teams and so forth. And I just don't want that for myself. So at the moment, I have my label, Mino, which I plan on releasing more music on. I did an EP last year. I do a couple of remixes here and there, but everything is very intentional. My first remix that I did was for Kind of Music. That was very intentional. Because it was a song called Pussy Power, and it was the vocalist on the song is like this amazing trance vocalist from New York, called Nomi Ruiz. And, you know, as an intersex woman, I felt like, okay, this is like a nice connection. Let's do it, you know? And then my second remix was for an artist called LPGOB, which I just booked for my show here in Cape Town at Cabo, which was such a full circle moment for me to be able to bring her to South Africa. And she's also about like women empowerment in the scene and empowering a lot of female producers, you know, because there's like staggering statistics about the ratio of male to female producers. And it's very important for the women that are actually producing to encourage other women to produce as well.
Absolutely.
So I did a remix for her for a song called All I Need, which was released on one of my favorite label, Ninja Tune.
Yeah.
So it was an honor for me to be a part of a project like that. And then I have a third remix that I did for Disclosure.
Yes.
And Parcelu, which, I mean,
good. Yeah,
what can I do? What can I say? You know, Disclosure, Parcelu, amazing artists that have given us such amazing music over the years, and that was also an honor to be a part of that. So everything is very intentional. I've had a lot of people ask me to do remixes, and you know, I don't want to do a remix just for the sake of doing a remix. You know, there has to be a story, there has to be a connection, it has to kind of speak to my soul.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that's why I do it sparingly at my own pace.
I love that. And just from this conversation, it makes so many things about your career make so much sense. You know, that's why I love these chats, because it's like everything is so intentional and it is your own way. And it's like, you're so unique in that way. You know, I get to sit down with so many people, but it's like to hear your perspective on so many things. I think that's why it's working so well. It's like you're doing it your own way. I love it.
Thank you.
Tell me, do you feel like you can identify like a hit record, or do you listen to something and go, I know exactly where I'm going to place this in my set? You know, are there stuff, do you look at music and go like, that's going to be a massive song once it's out? You know, I'm sure you're also getting a lot of unreleased stuff from other people. And how do you view it? Can you tell a hit record? And can you tell what's going to work in front of a crowd, or do you get pleasantly surprised sometimes, like bringing a song into a set?
Well, first and foremost, I always know if I'm going to like a song within the first 30 seconds.
Wow.
And you know, house music songs are super long. It's like 6 minutes plus.
Absolutely.
I always know within the first 30 seconds if I'm going to like it.
Wow.
So I get a lot of promos from different DJs all over the world, and it's like really overwhelming. It's like hundreds and hundreds of different songs, especially these days. You know, it's easier to kind of put out music. So I always know instantly
30 seconds.
I like this song. Me personally, it doesn't necessarily mean that this song is going to work for the crowd. Then of course, if I play the song and then I see the crowd's reaction, then I know.
Confirmed.
You know,
this folder.
Exactly.
Wow.
I remember, actually, it's funny that you say that. I remember Vanko sent me his hit record, you know, the one that's been everywhere. He sent it to me very early on. I think I was one of the first few people that he sent that song to. And I remember, I think I played it in Miami, and the crowd was like,
really
going crazy, like, what is this? What is this? What is this? And then I knew. I remember I texted him. I was like, Vanko, you've got one.
Wow. What a cool story, man. Tell me, who would you say is your earliest supporter?
My earliest supporter, Jackie Queens. Amazing. Definitely. Jackie Queens and a guy called Punk Mbedzi. Punk, you know Punk.
Yeah, of course.
Punk is he's an amazing producer, amazing DJ, but he was also doing a lot of events in Johannesburg. And when I was in uni at Wits, I used to attend a lot of his events because he would do them in Braam and have like the Capo and Ulu the Song and Black Motion, all these amazing DJs that I looked up to, you know, and I was always there without fail. Every single time, front row, I was there singing my lungs out, going crazy to every drop, you know. And then I remember once he came up to me, he was like, hey, what's up with you? Like, who are you? Like, you're always here, you know. I'm like, no, I'm just a lover of the music. So when I started to DJ, Punk was one of the first people that gave me a chance, gave me that opening slot, you know. And I remember very early on in my career, I found myself on a lineup with someone that I really look up to, which is Da Capo, one of my favorite producers.
Absolutely.
And that was because of someone like Punk, you know.
Incredible.
So I would say those were my earliest supporters. Punk,
Such
Bezi, Jackie
important
Quiz.
people. Yeah,
Yes.
it's incredible. And it's like, it takes a special person to be like, okay, we're going to give someone new a shot.
Yes.
And it's like, not everyone has that thing.
Yes.
But for them to be able to take a chance on someone new, most people, I'll be honest with you, being in this industry and seeing promoters, people are scared to try new people. They are so petrified. It's which I've never understood. But big shout out to them.
I think it's also like, if you're hosting parties and if you're doing it like on that scale, it's also like, who is this person? Like, do people even know this DJ? Like promoters also want to sell tickets and make money. So you have to kind of be someone who's a risk taker to be able to book a DJ who's unknown, because you don't even know if they're going to move your crowd. You know?
Well, I imagined like a football club. Not that I watch football, but I imagine it that way, because it's like you need to at some point focus on like, who is the next team that is going to come in. Yes, we've got our people who are going to sell the tickets and move jerseys, but who's the next generation that's going to push the game forward? Because at the end of the day, we need to win matches. And like, the same way with an event, like you need to create those vibes and bring something new in, but you have to focus on that side of the curation as well.
Yes.
So it's like, big shout out to them, and it's like an amazing, and like to give them their flowers. So like I love special stories like that. So big shout out to Jackie, big shout out to Punk. Tell me, who would you say is the most important artist in your existence? Feel free to give me a few. Like, who are some of the artists that have played a massive role in maybe shaping the sound? And let's maybe focus on someone who's also helped shape how you curate songs live and how you play live, maybe even, who are some of those people who have played a massive impact, even if they're outside of the house realm, and it's just the design elements and how they carry themselves?
I mean, sonically, if I think of like house music, specifically house music here at home in South Africa, it would have to be Tulo Song. I think Tulo has really managed to create a unique sound that isn't really replicable. Like, you can hear from far that this is Tulo Song, and he's been able to make timeless music, till this day. If you play We Baba,
100%.
It's going down, and even internationally, I found that people really love Tulo Song's music. Even the songs that maybe are not as well known in South Africa, there's some club bangers that you play like in Europe, in the US, at Berghain in Berlin, it goes off,
Brilliant.
So really like inspirational producer.
And really just carved his own lane and just moving at his own pace. And it's like...
Yes.
Anyone else that comes to mind?
An artist that I really, really love is Tom York. He is the lead singer of Radiohead.
Yes.
And he also has another band that he started with the bass guitarist from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Flea, which is called Atoms for Peace. And he also has his solo projects. And I just love his versatility as an artist and him not boxing himself, Incredible. He went from like rock, that grungy, like 1995 kind of computer Radiohead sound, to like making electronic music in 2009, or I think that was 2009, something like that, when Radiohead released In the Rainbows, which is for me one of the most revolutionary albums of our time, because it perfectly fuses electronic music with rock.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I never expect these answers, so it's so amazing, man. We manifesting now, the last 2-3 questions before we wrap up. Dream collabs. So this can be in fashion, this can be in production, this can be in back-to-back sets, this can be anything. Like, what are some of those people and brands or moments that you're like, put us in the same room?
Yeah.
Give us a 3-hour set and it's over.
I really love like multidisciplinary artists. So I'm a huge fan of Solange, for example. I'm a huge fan of her aura, but also her music, her style, just her holistically as a person, you know. So I would love to kind of collaborate with her in some shape or form. It doesn't necessarily have to be music, you know. I don't know what it could be, but I'm a big fan of Solange. So that would really like make me happy and jump up and down for joy if I did something with her.
Can't wait. It's going to be amazing.
Can't wait. I love that. I love speak it into existence.
Exactly. Tell me, how does your, you know, when you start, I imagine you have the time to be able to go to a show and watch the DJ before you get a feel of the event, and that helps make your decisions while you are DJing. Today, I'm sure you have moments where you arrive to the show 5 minutes before you get on stage, you know? How does your song selection process, especially playing in different countries, like Tom, you might walk into, like, how do you test and know what they're gonna like? How do you, you know, you don't have that luxury of spending 3 hours at the event and knowing exactly what you're gonna come with. Like, how do you?
So a lot of promoters probably hate me for this, but my agents know before we confirm a gig, we have to know who's playing before me, who's playing after me. Always.
Amazing.
Because then I kind of know how to orient myself. I can do research before that, because I know that, for example, if it's like European summer and I'm doing like back-to-back shows, I don't necessarily have time to go listen to the DJ before me, like you're saying, and hear them play and hear if they're going to play a song that I wanted to play, you know. So it's very important for me to have an idea of that artist's sound to kind of be able to pre-prepare the kind of songs that I would play for that crowd, but still being myself, of course. That's a big part of it. You know, but sometimes like I don't have perfect gigs. Like sometimes it's bad. Like sometimes people just are not feeling me, you know? And I think that's a natural part of being a DJ. Like you can't, it's virtually impossible for you to always make the crowd go crazy. I've seen some of the biggest DJs that we all look up to and we're like, yo, this guy knows how to work a crowd. I've seen them play for crowds and like everyone is just looking at them like, what the hell? You know? So I think DJs also should not be afraid of that. You know, I think it comes with the job. You can't have a perfect gig all the time. You're also human.
I love that you say that. That's so powerful. And do you sometimes change what you play to try and fit the thing when it's not going well? Because I really want to touch on everyone's talking about how when things are going well, and I love this topic so much. Like, what do you do when things aren't going that well?
So I think I'm fortunate enough to be very eclectic in my music taste. As you know, I'm like a girl from the township, but I grew up listening to Radiohead. So my range is like very, very big. So I dabble in all kinds of electronic music. So it really depends where I'm playing, you know, but it's always very important for me to go back to my roots, even if I'm, I don't know, in Iceland or something. You know, like it's always very important for me to maybe play some songs that they may be used to, but then lead them to that Afro house.
I love that.
I have to, doesn't matter if I'm playing. I remember last year I played at Berghain, at Panorama Bar in Berlin, which is a club that is very famous for hard, hypnotic techno, you know, and I was like, what am I gonna play? Because I know that they don't like Afro house or three step or Amapiano, any of those genres. It's not necessarily genres that I played there, you know. And then I was like, what is a genre that I love, that is connected to where I come from, that I can introduce these people to in the middle of my set. Ding, 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 boom.
Wow, really?
And boom really works in those scenarios where you're like in a dark, dingy club, techno kind of club. They love that.
Wow.
They love that.
Then you say come and then you drive them down to now when I've got you here.
Exactly. Now
Let's
that
go,
I've got
my
you.
friend. Let's go.
We go with the Afro. Now
That's
I've got
so
you.
powerful.
I've got you. Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
so
I
there's
love that.
always a way to reel people into your sound and kind of introduce them to sounds that they're not necessarily used to, I feel. But yes, I always kind of slowly go into it because I have this wide range of music that I love and listen to.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Very, very important question. Second last question. If someone is listening to this conversation, obviously no two paths are the same, but if there is someone sitting there 18 years old now, or similarly, if you're speaking to that 18-year-old version to of yourself right now, and they are somewhat taking a similar path of like, they know they love this thing, they're at the parties, they're standing at the front, they're going, wow, they're losing their mind to all the tracks. They know how to curate the playlist, they know how to put the songs together, they have a good feel for it. What is some advice you would give to that person?
I would tell that person to embrace their uniqueness and individuality. I think very often, especially like in the South African context, very often people try to sound like other DJs or emulate other DJs, like not just from the tracks that they play, but even like the movements, the way they dance on the decks, you know, like there's no need for that, you know. There will only be one Shimza. I don't know, you know, there will only be one Shimza. So why should you try to sound like Shimza? You know, why should you try to sound like the couple? Why should you try to sound like Kabza the Small? Just be yourself, embrace your individuality, and take risks. Offer something that's different to the market, you know, not just with how you produce, but also what you offer as an artist, as a DJ holistically. You know, I find that a lot of DJs want to kind of just put out music, put out mixes, and hope for the best, hope that people will book them. If people are not booking you, make your own event. We need more events. There's far too much talent, especially in South Africa, and not enough gigs. Make your own event. Tell your own narrative. Use social media. We're very fortunate in this day and age that we have social media. Of course, it has its downsides, but it also has a lot of advantages. And to be honest with you, I don't think you and I would be sitting here if there wasn't social media. Social media has enabled people from the global South to tell their story and reach out to audiences that they wouldn't have necessarily had access to. So embrace TikTok, put out your music there, do the dances if that's what works for you, but embrace it. Like, you have this tool that people 10, 20 years ago didn't have access to. You can talk about your music on a daily basis, and people can connect with that music even if they're not necessarily from where you're from. So yeah,
I love that. And if I were to take it all away right now, and there you starting tomorrow with 0 followers, no team, no agent overseas, and you start again tomorrow having the knowledge that you have, what's some practical advice you would give? Is it a 4 posts a week? Is it the dances? Is it release every 2 weeks? Is it release once a month? What would that practical step-by-step be?
I have to think about that one.
It's crazy, you know, people asked this question to Maklosa. He was like, I don't know if I do fashion anymore. He took it all. He's like, yo, no team. He's like, no ways, I'm down. He's like, no ways. That's...
Okay. So what I would do is I firstly would use social media as a tool. And not just social media, but also platforms like YouTube, you know. I remember one of my sets that, not the whole set, but there was a clip from the set that kind of went viral. And it was a mix that I did for Kunye. But at the time, Kunye was not the brand that we know today. They were still starting out. It was during the pandemic. Nobody knew that it was this Afro house platform that everyone knows it to be today. And they started really small. And they were doing these mixes like with like 50 to 100 people behind the DJ, kind of like boiler room style. And, you know, it kind of had that DIY approach. Like they started small and look at what Kunye is today, you know. So I could have also easily done that by myself, you know. I didn't necessarily need another platform to do that for me. So I think it's just important for up and coming DJs to take that initiative. Even if you're making that mix, you record it from your smartphone. You know, it doesn't have to be this grand setup. You know, I see so many artists on TikTok like with videos that I don't know if this is 5 megapixel. I don't know. You know, like very low quality kind of content. Yes. But it's reaching people, you know, so I think it's just important to start with what you have and not think, oh, I can't put up a mix because I don't have a camera. I don't have the latest iPhone or whatnot. Brilliant. Use what you have and make the most of it.
I love that. Yeah. Such a great answer. My last question to you is, how would you like to be remembered?
How would I like to be remembered? I would like to be remembered as someone who was fearless and did not let their background or misfortunes dictate their path in life. You know, very often I find myself in rooms where I'm surrounded by people that I didn't even think I would be in the same vicinity as this person, you know. But it's very important to fake it till you make it, I feel. You have to fake it till you make it. And yeah, just trust yourself. Even if in those moments where you're feeling insecure, just know that you're there for a reason. You're there for a reason. It's not by chance.
That's so powerful. Just to give you your flowers, I'm such a fan of what you do. I'm such a fan of how you move as a human being. It's been incredible to watch your journey, and
thank you.
I think you're just getting started. It's so funny to hear you say things like that, like fake it till you make it, because like I'm like, yo, you're the real deal. People don't even know like what you're going to do in your life. And, you know, I think you are the person in so many eyes that they're like, wow, one day I'm going to be in the same room as her, you know, and as we are in the same room today. So thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you for having me.
I can't wait to do this again. We're going to come through to your Madison Square Garden gig. We're going to come through to your O2 gig. It's all coming for you. That's for sure. And it's an absolute honor. Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Anything else from your side? Did we miss anything?
I can't think of anything now. The Johnny Walker is like, it's in my system.
This is my favorite interview you've done. I know I'm being biased, but this is my favorite one. Like, I would say, like, I really enjoyed the interview you did with Punk, by the way. That was, like,
you saw it?
I did, yeah. I loved it so much. I was like, oh, damn. I was a bit upset. I was like, oh, you know when there's a good interview, like, oh man, what angle am I gonna come with? You know? So I was like, your team was like, can you send questions? I was like, no, I'm not sending questions. She must be surprised. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you guys.